Hi everyone! In the past video, I demonstrated my favorite way for reading, annotating, and extracting excerpts from academic papers using Remnote on the iPad. In this video, I am going to share with you my workflow for reviewing the material after the migration into Remnote. First, I'll show how to manage references in a way that is searchable by topics. Then, how to manage excerpts and annotations and their sources. Finally, how to analyze the manuscripts. Here are the timestamps for the different parts of the video, and the links are in the description. First, we need a reference management tool to systematically transfer the metadata into Remnote. I personally use Zotero, which is available for free on all operating systems. I created a citation style to export the metadata. The style can be found in the description of the video. To use it, you would need to go into the settings menu of Zotero and then to the Cite tab. Click on the plus sign to add a new style and then select Remnote style after downloading it. Once you have it installed, you will find the option to generate bibliography when right-clicking an article. Find Remnote from the citation styles and then copy the bibliography to the clipboard. Now you can go into Remnote, open up a new document, add the metadata, and use the unique citation key from Zotero as the title for this entry. In addition to the metadata, I like to add cross-references to projects that I'm working on that are related to this article, or other articles that are related to it. I also like to add the PI, or the primary investigator, on this article, as well as the team or group that is working on it. Now that we have all the metadata linked, we can click on the created title of the paper from the metadata and then paste our excerpts into Remnote. You can go back to my margin note to Remnote video to see how exactly I do this. While creating the excerpts from the paper, I suggest adding the following tags to them when appropriate. We'll see how these tags come into play in the analysis to come. While having your excerpts on the right and your citation rem on the left, you can begin dissecting the article further. Here, I've created a template of questions to streamline the review process. The first question is, why am I reading this paper? Was it recommended to me? And if so, by whom? If not, then was I searching for something when I found this paper? If so, I should mention that. All of this will help me remember the context whenever I look back to this manuscript in the future. Next, I'll filter excerpts with the motivations tag and answer the following questions. What is the motivation of the article? Is it well motivated? How does this motivation relate to other work that I am either working on or that I've seen before? And I will do this filtering for all the tags. For example, I will use the problem tag and answer the following question. What is the specific problem that the authors are attempting to solve? Next, the applications tag. What are application areas that the author mentions? Can I identify other fields with similar problems? With regards to the objective tag, I should ask myself, what are the objectives? Here, I should identify specific deliverables. With regards to assumptions, I should ask myself, what are the important assumptions made by the authors? Do I think that they are valid? What is my opinion on the practicality of the approach given those assumptions? As for claims, I should ask myself, how strong are the claims? Are they reasonable? Next, I would jump into the experimental section and have a look at the results. How do the results look? Do they reflect the claims of the authors? How well are the authors interpreting the results? Are there other ways the results could be interpreted? Next, I'd look at the limitations. Do the authors acknowledge any limitations in their experiments? Am I able to identify any? Is the experiment appropriate for assessing the objectives given these limitations? Then I would filter according to the benchmarks and the opinions of the authors on the benchmarks and answer the following questions. Are the benchmark methods appropriate? And are they state of the art? What are the author's opinions on the benchmark methods? Do I agree with them, or are there clear biases that I can identify? Last thing I would look at is the actual methodology, the engine under the hood, if you will, because it is the hardest and longest part to analyze and understand. Depending on the answer for the above questions, I may decide that it's not worth my time to invest in this paper anymore. It might not be as relevant to my topic or the work that I'm working on as I initially thought. Filtering according to the methodology tag, I would answer the following questions. What is the approach? What are the building blocks from the literature? What is my opinion on the approach? Is it clear? How does it relate to the objectives? Is it in line with the assumptions, or do they conflict? Is it practical? Using the contribution tags, I would answer the following. What are the exact areas of contribution within this methodology? Is it novel, or is it an extension? If it's an extension, is there significant work done, or is it a trivial increment to the original work? With regards to the approach, is it common within this application area? Sometimes the whole contribution of the paper is to tailor existing methodologies to areas that have never been investigated with these types of approaches. If it is not common, do the authors identify the potential benefits of this approach over typical approaches in the field? Finally, I would use the future tag and answer the following questions. What future development does the work of the authors open up according to them and according to my own opinion? Do they align with the general direction of the field, or do they diverge? If they diverge, what is my estimation or the author's estimation of the longevity of this new direction? Once you've answered the aforementioned questions, rank the paper according to two criteria: its relevance to your own work and its impact factor. Papers that should be cited in your work are papers that have high to medium relevancy and high impact factor, or low relevancy and high impact factor. This is because it is likely that reviewers will ask you about those papers and how they differ from your work. With regards to papers that have low impact factor, you should mention them and cite them if they have high to medium relevancy to your work. Not all of the above questions need to be answered. The effort you've given in answering these questions should align with the rank you've given to the paper. There's no use answering all these questions for an article that's not relevant to your work, even if it has a high impact factor. But perhaps it's useful to answer some of the main questions in case you run into other papers that reference this one in the future. These answers may serve you well in those instances. Not to mention that some of the questions above are rather easy to answer and don't require too much time investment. If you follow this workflow when reading any paper, you can then easily retrieve information when you need to write your literature review for any paper. For example, if you keep all your citations in a main citation file, you can filter by topics and find papers you've already went through in your database rather than starting from scratch by doing a general search in Google Scholar. I hope you found value from this workflow. This should serve as a general guideline, and you should adjust it to your own workflow. You might use different apps or have other criteria to tag your excerpts with that are relevant to your field. This is all I have to share for now. See you in the next one, and thanks for watching.